Hoka hey, Alita Army. Welcome to the Alita Livestream of April the 7th, 2023. Is Alita off the rails in the Badlands Arc, where we discuss all things to do with the movie Alita Battle Angel, the source manga Gundam, and the greatly desired sequels. I am your host, the Muskogee Creek, and with me from Fountain, Colorado, is Lee. How's it going, Lee?
Not too bad. How about yourself?
Cool. And I forgot to mention that I am in Linville, North Carolina, kind of like I was last week, but be back in Denver next week. So it'll be like back home almost. So how's things going down there in Fountain, Colorado there, Lee?
Oh, so far so good. I had some snow a couple days ago, but it all melted off now. It's finally warming up again.
Yeah, hell, it got up to 70 degrees here. Up in the mountains, you know, which is unusual for this time of year around here, I guess. But I guess it's kind of unusual in a lot of places, maybe. So yeah, so I guess we can just go ahead and get started. Angelus is he's late like he always is. You know, I guess getting up on Saturday morning because he's in the future is going to be kind of tough, you know.
So it's usually a time when people sleep in, trying to enjoy the weekend. So
yeah, because I think he's got a little bit different position now in his the folks he works for there at Brisbane, you know, or in Brisbane, the security folks, you know. So he mostly works days now, so it kind of frees him up to, you know, participate in streams and that kind of thing. Okay, so I guess we can just go ahead and get started, but before we do, I just want to kind of bring up a couple of things. Well, of course, I do this every week. Should be welcoming the guests on this slide, but we only have one guest, so that's it. So anyway, it seems that, you know, we are still adding signatures to the petition, and I think we added like 19 or 20 this past week. And yeah, Maxie, good day yourself. Yeah, Maxie's there, and of course near Sydney, Australia, or New South Wales. You know, if you say Denver, here's an example, and Maxie will probably appreciate this. If you say Denver in the United States, well, yeah, okay, you might say, okay, that's Denver, Colorado, but not too far from my house here in Linville, there's a Denver, North Carolina. So, you know, I mean, it's so we want to always say, you know, what state, you know, or territory somebody's in if we know it, you know. So yeah, sign that petition. As you can see, we still got we're approaching 178,000 now, and we had more signatures than the Snyder Cut. So we'll be getting that sequel pretty soon. I mean, this is just one of the things, you know, that's going to help us get that sequel, you know, for our girl, you know. So that plus, you know, Cameron and Rodriguez and Landau and Rosa all wanting to do the sequel themselves, and they're still fighting for it. And of course, we had a pretty good mass tweet, I guess, on last Sunday here, or if you're down under, it'd be Monday. And of course, Avatar: The Way of Water, you know, of course, it's doing really well. Now, there's the link right there under that. So anybody that, of course, just about everybody on this stream, I guess, has signed it. But, you know, there'll be some folks that see it afterwards, you know, that will see the stream after we, you know, sign off type thing. So, to those folks in the future, then let's go ahead and go to that website. I think I may have forgotten to put it in the description, but I'll put it in just as soon as the stream's over. And of course, Avatar keeps making money. It's kind of fallen off some, because I think last week it was 2.304 billion. Now it's 11 billion, which means in 1 week it made $7 million. Now that's, in movie speak, that's not a lot, but it went bonkers that first weekend. The first 2 or 3 weekends, it really hit.
Also in 3 months too. I mean, it's been out for a while now, so it still doesn't seem like too bad.
Just under 3.5 months. It's made a lot of money. It's number 3 on the all-time money-making list for movies, and I guess Cameron has 3 of the top 4. So
nice.
Titanic certainly, and of course Avatar 1, made the most. It's like nearly 3 billion, 2.9 something billion is Avatar 1. So hopefully Disney will see that, and say, look, okay, if you could make us this kind of money with Alita, we're going to have to go with it, because I think they're kind of struggling right now on some of their new movie releases and stuff like that.
That's what I keep hearing, but they still seem adamant about not greenlighting a sequel yet, for whatever reason.
Well, we don't know what's happening, behind closed doors. I mean,
well, whatever's happening is not happening fast enough, damn it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, and I guess one way to go check it is get on IMDb and see what they've got. I know it's been, technically, I guess it's been in development for a couple of years, but that's a little bit misleading, I think, because being in development could be nothing more than them talking about it, but not really doing anything substantive about it.
I think it doesn't really mean anything until they actually start getting people together and putting the shooting together.
Yeah, that's right. So, and of course the fact that it's been doing so well in various countries, getting on Disney Plus and Hulu and stuff like that, certainly should speak well for just be able to get a sequel on that too. So anyway, if you haven't seen Avatar: Way of Water, go see it. I think the Blu-ray has come out on it, and I'm not sure, but I think it's even 3D. But check that out. I don't know about that. That's just a guess. So.
Okay.
And as everybody knows, the beginning of the week, we did a mass tweet, and we trended on that. We got 3,400 tweets. Now you might say, "Oh, that's not a lot of tweets." Well, for 20 hours, it is. That's a pretty good. I think Charlie Smith, had basically said that we had been at that point here. I think this is 20 hours, I think, or maybe slightly less than that. I think it actually made past 20 hours. It trended for more than a day, I think. And, of course, with us tagging Disney on that tweet, then hopefully they will get that message too, that people want to see this sequel. I mean, that's, you would, I mean, hopefully they're not, so much dumbasses over there. They can't see all these tweets coming in, saying we want a sequel, So
one hopes, yeah,
you would hope that that's the case, So we did good. I think it was successful, and anytime you get it to kind of, this is the second time in I guess maybe 2 months that Alita sequel actually trended. The first time was just completely spontaneous, and I think it was more than 2 months. It might have been 3 months ago. It was after Avatar really, started breaking in the bucks, and Alita sequel just started trending, and of course none of us were pushing it, and so when I started seeing those tweets, I started adding to it, a little bit. I think a lot of us did, But on this one, we actually organized this, and said, let's get going on it. So, so now they've got two trending mass tweets in like, one in January, I think it was, another one the last weekend. And gosh, I hope they get the message. That's all I can say. And it's kind of like Maxie says, I refuse to live in a universe without an Alita sequel. So that's the way it works.
Yep.
Oh, it looks like
keep
Maxie,
pushing for it.
Yeah, it looks like Maxie says, or Chaos says he's going to stop in a little bit. So cool. Okay, any more thoughts on any of these three things there, Lee?
Not really. At least none that I can repeat in polite company concerning Disney's leadership.
Let's see. Okay, I was looking to see if Angelus is. Yeah, Angelus has got the link, so he doesn't have any excuse unless something's come up and he's had to work on it. That's probably what it might be. What's going on here? So one time, I guess he said, "You didn't send me the link," and yeah, I did. It was in your DMs. So anyway, okay. So I guess we can just get on with this. I guess and talk about our girl. In the Badlands, of course, we all know that after she, I guess, she's, I guess captured is not a good word for it, but she spends time in that room and is given a kind of a ultimatum, hey, either work for us in the tube program or we're going to kill you. Well, that's a pretty good incentive,
Not exactly much of a choice either, but yeah, it's
yeah, and of course, our girl, you thought about it, so well, let's see, let me think about that. And then of course she did do it, it looks like Maxie says I'm off by 2 hours. I don't know, Maxie, I thought I used that link that you have in the in this guest sign up list to figure it out, so maybe I am off a couple of hours, so I'll just have to double check it. So but I'm pretty sure I did that. But anyway, that's another story. So I guess Alita then becomes an agent in the tuned program, and she gets a tuned body and all that kind of stuff, and she's basically a troubleshooter. Now, when we say is Alita off the rails, that doesn't mean to say that she's crazy. She kind of at times kind of acts crazy, but she's not really crazy. She's just extremely intense, and really what she is I think Lee has said this in the past, is that she's in a really dark place, after that, because, she's lost Hugo. They've kind of lied to her and said that nobody cares about her. All of the people that she knew, like Ito and all them, they just they don't care about her. She's forgotten, and it kind of puts her mentally in a bad spot. Yeah. And so she says, okay, well, in that case, I may as well just go ahead and, I guess I'll pick life over death and just start, doing work for Zalem. Now, eventually she gets out of it, of course. She gets out of that mental funk that they put her in, particularly when she meets Figure 4. She sort of kind of rediscovers her humanity, and then starts, gradually coming back to being what we would know as our girl Alita, So anyway, there's some of the talking points I got there. Certainly, she's an agent for Zalem, that's for sure. Now, when I got trained killer up there, that really didn't change. She was always a trained killer, And Maxie says, yeah, that's 10 years later. That's right, Maxie, for sure.
Yeah, 10 years of being out there with just the whatever operator she had for company. And when Lou Collins took over, she noticed that the button for the shock system was worn, which means that they've been using it on her a lot.
Yeah.
So probably not having the best of relationships with Tefaris, or Zalem as it was called in the movie.
Yeah, that's when I
and
guess.
probably operating by herself out there, believing that she didn't have any family or friends or anything anymore.
Yeah,
That probably weighs on you.
yeah. And I guess her original operator was that Bigot,
Bigot
what's
Eisenberg, I think his name was.
Eisenberg, yeah. And I guess he was the one pushing that button.
Yeah,
'Cause
he was, I think. Yeah.
he's pretty much a control freak. You know, uh,
Hmm.
and he was probably pretty tough on her, except for one time when I guess her and Figure Four were going across the desert. She had lost her feet, so she couldn't walk, and it looked like that they were done for. And then all of a sudden, here comes this big rain, and all these fish come down, stuff like that. So I think Bigot Eisenberg kind of made that happen, I guess. And that was the only good thing I think that I can recall that he did for her.
Yeah.
But I guess he just didn't want to lose a tuned agent. Uh, be that as it may. Certainly, she fought. Some folks in the bar jack. She had some issues with them. Because for one thing, those guys wanted to bring Zalem down. He had that big cannon. It was on that rail car, and they wanted to try to shoot.
Yeah, I think Den was trying to destroy the oppressive system that Tefari's had in place.
Yeah.
But was willing to destroy the people he was trying to free in the order to do so.
Yes. And and of course, Den.
So not really much of a freedom fighter, honestly.
Yeah, not really. He's just more of a terrorist, I guess. I guess. I mean, one thing I do like about the story, Alita Battle Angel Alita story, is that it's really not a good and evil type situation. It's like, there are shades of gray in everything. I mean, and that includes Alita. She's, sometimes she's really good, and then sometimes she is not so good. As I've always said, she has her moments.
Well, I think the Badlands arc was basically her tapping into or falling or sort of letting herself sink more into her darker side.
Yes. And just because they had lied to her and probably were hitting her with that shock collar or whatever, not collar, but that, that shock system, if she was exhibiting behavior that they didn't like, they'd shock her, and that wouldn't be pleasant, for sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that would be, that'd be tantamount to torture is what it would be, And then, of course, that definitely put her in that dark place, that plus lying to her and, kind of.
Certainly none of it helped, that's for sure.
Yeah. And then, of course, she meets Chaos, and then I think Chaos kind of does help her in some ways.
He seemed to do a little bit at least.
Yeah, that's right. Now I think he kind of had the hots for her, I think, which, of course.
Yeah, and he acted a little, when she wanted to leave, he got a little crazy, I guess.
Yeah.
And sort of, I guess, demanded. I'm not sure he'd say demanded, but he basically went kind of off the deep end a little bit to the point where she decided to stay to try and calm him down.
Yeah.
Electrical persuasion. Yeah, I guess that's one word for it.
Yeah,
one term for it.
Yeah, I guess Bigot Eisenberg, Maxie says the reason, and this is true, he did keep her alive because he wanted to use her as a basis for.
Yeah, they weren't finished
AR
with the template yet.
Yeah, that's right, for the AR units, Now, I think AR 11 and 12, which would be Elf and Swerve, they ended up fighting with Alita in the Zot, or at least were teammates, I guess, And, of course, Alita runs into AR2, and, AR2 nearly kills her, but, she ends up winning, so ends up killing AR2, so, it's kind of a, that's kind of one of that thing. So she was really mistreated, I think, during her good portion of time in the Badlands.
Yeah.
And then.
Well, that's the thing. When she was in the scrapyard, she had. She had family, friends. She had, basically what you'd consider, I guess, a support system. She had people that she cared about and who cared about her. But when she got into the Badlands, all of that got stripped away.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right, Maxie. AR6 Zex also fought with her or was a teammate, on the Space Angels during the Zot. So that's a good thing. Yeah, I kind of momentarily forgot that. Although having seen Cran last Thursday, it'd be difficult for me to forget Zex for very long.
Oh, she would have been quick to remind you if she'd been.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, there was 3 AR units that actually ended up as her allies. Although I think Zex wanted to fight Alita, when he was in his Physiroid body and she was in that Imaginos body, and that would have been a disaster for Zex.
Chaos is saying that Lou took her gun and shot the command console for AR2, rendering AR2 inert, which helped her win the fight.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I forget.
For which I think Lou got taken into custody and then had her brain extracted.
Yeah.
Or no, her brain was. Yeah, that was the other thing. But she was basically sentenced to death for that, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, because AR2. Remember, she said, "If I kill Alita, will that make me AR1?" Something like that. So. Yeah, because I think AR2 almost killed Alita, didn't she?
So, Kran and Mathau would be dark on you for forgetting Zex.
Yeah, they would. Yeah, they definitely would. They would be in that dark place too, wouldn't they? So, and of course, then Chaos says, that what's that, volume 7 through 9 of the big villains of Den. Okay, yeah, and Destiny Nova defeated. Okay, I'd see that. Yeah. So anyway, eventually, I think Chaos helps her. I think she does kind of maybe starts not coming back, but she's kind of, she really respects Chaos. She thinks he's got good intentions and he's really got good character and stuff like that. Now, she never really had any kind of romantic feelings for him. That one panel where, he's kind of getting frisky with her when she's laying on that gurney or that table or whatever, and she slugs him.
Yeah.
I just really love
Well, there was another scene, too, I seem to recall, where they were outside and they were trying to set up some sort of, they were dealing with something, and he tries to lean in for a kiss and she backhands him.
Yeah.
Not even really hard, just sort of casually backhands him and sends him flying.
Yeah.
Basically telling him something like, now's not the time or something like that.
Yeah.
Or don't be stupid.
Yeah. But she definitely didn't have that kind of feelings for him, although like I say, she did respect him a lot. Chaos was a pretty powerful character too. I mean, he could touch that Damascus blade or whatever other weapon he had, and he'd learn everything you'd need to know about how to fight with that weapon, because he had that psychometry,
Yep.
And of course, he had a mobile radio transmitter. It was in a van or something like that. So, yeah, you idiots! What he said. That's right. Yeah, that's.
I think it was something like that. I couldn't remember exactly. It's been a while.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So anyway, so she slugs him twice, and both of those I really thought were humorous.
Yeah.
So.
Speaking on the. Gray in the Battle Angel Alita story, even Den had his moments. I thought, like when his forces charged into the scrapyard after the big cannon was blown up. He demanded that they all scatter, and he was going to go in and try to draw the main forces of the scrapyard's defenses so that his troops had a better chance of surviving. Basically, he was going to sacrifice himself to give them a better chance of living.
Yeah. And then I guess that insurgency would live to fight another day.
Yeah.
That's the way he probably thought of it, And then, of course, Alita meets Figure 4. And that's where I think she really starts to turn around to start becoming Alita again, or at least the Alita we know, And
every time I think about the Heng Cannon, though, like Maxie was pointing out here, I keep thinking of Big Bertha. For some reason, the name Big Bertha is the first thing that jumped into my mind, because big rail cannon. Like, I think there was a German rail cannon that was named that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, World War II type thing. Yeah. So anyway, but even at the beginning, she doesn't really. I mean, she doesn't fall head over heels for figure 4 like she did Hugo, you know.
Yeah, she was keeping a distance between herself and him because she had lost so many at that point. She wasn't about to let herself get attached.
Well, she did tell him, she said, hey, you know, people that get near me, get close to me, end up dying, you know. So, and I guess part of that was what she thought, because what Zalem had told her, you know, that, or Teferis, you know, had told her that, you know, hey, all of your friends and family, they don't have anything to do with you. They're dead, they're gone, or whatever they are, and you're by it's just you now, and you got to rely on us, or something like that, you know.
Well, I don't think it helped either that one of the last things that the guy who owned the Kansas bar said to her before she went off to fight Zerkerpan, was he called her a plague, because of all the violence and everything that seemed to be following her.
Yeah.
I mean, it destroyed half of the city, killed lots of people. I mean, just terrible things happened. I mean, it was something he regretted saying to her later, but he never got to apologize to her for it.
Yeah. But eventually, of course, she kind of falls head over heels for figure 4, you know. And I really love that one scene, those panels where her and figure 4 fight each other. If you could call it fighting each other, it was more like
her giving him a smackdown.
Yeah, she was just kind of, you know, mopping the ground with him, kind of type thing, you know. And I think what really got her attention was the fact that he just kept coming, you know, and he kept getting up. I mean, she was literally stomping on him, you know, just really, you know, and she eventually says, what is wrong with this guy? You know, because he keeps getting up, you know, and I think that tenacity, you know, that kind of enduring, you know, never say die type of attitude really made an impression on her, you know.
His willingness to pick himself back up and keep going.
Yeah, that's right. So I think in that regard, I think that was kind of one of the biggest things that turned her around, because, you know, there was one panel where he was kind of mocking her a little bit, you know, when she was hanging from that building, you know, they got her tied up, and and he was hanging, you know, and she was just kind of there, you know, and she couldn't get out, you know, and eventually I think she kind of wrapped her, you know, legs around.
Well, I think what happened was he was making fun of her by holding up a bowl of food, and made like he was going to give her some of it, and then quickly switches directions and puts the food in his own mouth. And I think she got really pissed off about that, brought her feet up and kicked him in the head.
Yeah. Yeah. So he got it again right there, I think. So so anyway, but eventually I think, you know, another thing I think that really got her attention too, that made her realize that there's more to just living, you know, than violence, is when, you know, he told her that one time, he said, you know, I like fighting better than eating, but I hate wars and the girls that fight in them, you know. I think that really got her attention, you know, by saying, really, am I that bad? You know, I guess.
Well, up to that point, she had just been basically surviving. And I think he started to get through to her that there was more to living than just surviving. There was surviving, and then there was living, and she was just surviving at that point.
Yeah, I think so, you know. So I think whether Alita is off the rails, I don't know if she's off the rails. I would say that she was.
Well, it depends on what you consider by off the rails. I mean, there was the scene where she was taking on the Barjack soldiers that went in when she was basically just going insane on them, and
Yeah.
well, she was going berserk on them
Yeah.
and just ripping them apart.
Yeah.
And then there was the part where Yolg, I think it was Yolg, he was expressing fear of dying in the upcoming battle, which was perfectly normal, at least as far as I'm concerned. And she basically pistol whipped him for being a coward.
Yeah, and of course, Figure Four said, "Hey, he's got a family, you know."
Yeah, and Figure Four managed to intervene in time to stop her from hurting him too much worse.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So yeah, you know, I would say that, you know, she had been, you know, really, I think she had been psychologically programmed, is what I think, you know, at that point, you know, because she still had her human brain. So, you know, it wasn't like it wasn't like she had a brain chip like she did when she was in the Last Order, you know. And I guess they used a combination of torture and incentivizing her and
well, that's the thing.
you know,
She's always had a bit of a dark side, quite a bit of a dark side, actually.
yes.
But she also had a very compassionate side as well. I think being so long in the Badlands, is right there in the title.
Yeah.
Sorry. Being so long in the Badlands with no one really to talk to or relate to or anything like that. No socialization, basically. And having nothing to do but basically mete out violence on Tefari's commands.
Yeah.
That does something to you.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been around enough combat veterans who have been damaged by combat. I mean, not really a lot, but I've brushed elbows with a few of them in the VA clinic, stuff like that. I mean, even just the short spans of times they've been in combat, it can damage you. And she was out there for years doing that.
Yeah, I remember years ago, I was sitting in a club in one of the in a military base, as me and a friend of mine, and you know, we were civilians, you know, but we were in this club, and there were a bunch of us in there were civilians, and one of the guys in there was he had fought in Vietnam, you know, and he was he was a soldier, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And he started ragging on me because, you know, during that time, I was against the Vietnam War, you know, because I thought we were fighting it for the wrong reasons, stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
But I was still pro military. I mean, I was pro U.S. You know, I was never anti U.S. You know, but you know, he was ragging on me about, you know, being, you know, calling me a hippie and everything, which I never was a hippie, but he was ragging on me about that and stuff and really giving me a hard time. And he said, why? And then finally it came down to, why were you such against the Vietnam War, you know? And I said, man, I was against the war. The main reason I was against the war is I just wanted you guys to come home. And when I said that to him, he started crying. I mean, God almighty, you know? I mean, because he had probably seen things that were so horrific, you know, and to kind of tie it in here, where Alita was being tortured, and I guess you could say brainwashed, you know, and stuff like that. And then, you know, he was probably, I wouldn't say his brainwash, it was just his training.
It could be he was also expecting some kind of BS like what a lot of the troops had experienced coming back, where they were basically being spit on and stuff like that.
Yeah, see, that was never me, you know, never. But
that's the thing. As a veteran myself, one of the things I've always believed, that the best way to support combat troops is to make sure that if they're being sent into combat, it's for a damn good reason.
Yeah.
And not just to have their lives being spent.
Yeah, and every time I see you know, somebody that's got a, you know, some kind of well, you'll see sometimes veterans will have some kind of insignia. They'll be wearing a shirt or they'll have a hat on or something like that. I always tell them, thank you for your service, you know, because I mean, you know, you know, these folks, you know, you know, a lot of them, especially those in they're putting their butts on the line, you know, for you. So, I mean, God,
I mean, that's the thing. The soldiers have sworn like when I was in the military, I swore an oath to, you know, go where they sent me.
Mm-hmm.
You're basically, I mean, that's what GI stands for. I'm not sure how many people know that. It stands for government issue. Basically, when you sign on the dotted line, you become government property. They can do whatever they want with you. So civilians, if you really care about, the soldiers' well-being, you have to put pressure on the politicians to make sure they're not spending those lives frivolously.
Yeah, that's right. So, and that was kind of what my response to him was. But by the way, let me say hi to Angelus. How's it going, Angelus?
Hello.
Hey.
And if I was going to say, if I see anyone wearing an Alita Army T-shirt, I'd go,
Yes.
thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you for your service. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so how's things going there in Brisbane and Queensland, Australia there? Jealous?
Good. I mean, I set my alarm for 7:50. I must have just dropped back to sleep again and then woke up. Fortunately, only half an hour later, 40 minutes later, and yeah.
Well, you work a regular 5-day week now, don't you? Or
temporarily.
Do you? Okay, yeah.
Next few weeks I will be.
Yeah, Saturday and Sunday is kind of magic days. You want to stay in bed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, no problem though, Yeah, so anyway, getting back to Alita here, I guess my point is that the way Figure 4 kind of interacted with her, I think it was a really good way, I guess you could say, of deprogramming her, because
wake up call.
Well, I think there was a who is it? Stephen Lang, who played Quaritch in the Avatar movie.
Yeah.
He was in a interview, and basically he said that, Quaritch is the kind of guy who has seen so much shit in his life in combat situations that he's basically sheared off all of the humanity, leaving just the combat machine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that can kind of be equated to what happened to Alita out there. She was basically just a fighting machine.
Yes.
She had divested herself of all of the human parts because it wasn't helping her survive, and she was just surviving at that point. And meeting Figure 4 started helping her to get back in touch. And even to a lesser degree, I think Chaos helped her start rehumanizing herself again.
Yes. But you could see, though, the way Figure 4 dealt with her, I mean, he got her attention 2 or 3 times,
Yeah.
I mean,
he had the bigger impact on her.
Yeah, I think so, and it was like, I would say, it's pretty deprogramming her, to the point where she said, hell with you, Zalem, or Tafar. It's, I'm not cooperating anymore, or something like that, so
she was going to start being her own person again.
Yeah, that's right. And then of course, once that happened, of course, she started having feelings for him and stuff like that, so, and of course, the Creek likes Figure 4 a lot. So, if they were real people, I would say, yep, that's a good match. I would say, although of course they're fictitious people, but fictitious characters, but I think they were perfectly made for each other, in that regard, especially when he told her, I like fighting better than eating, but I don't like wars and I don't like the girls that fight in them. That you could see the look on her face was just complete astonishment. It was.
Well, that's the thing. There was a notations in some of those notes that were made by James Cameron.
Yeah.
Where Alita basically has a bad reaction to organized militaries because she knows that bad things can come of that.
Yes.
When large organized militaries start going to war, it's going to be a lot of death, destruction, and suffering is going to follow in their wake.
Yep. And that's, of course, getting back in touch with her human self makes that, that feeling, of, not wanting to see death, destruction, and suffering. It kind of gets her, back to her human side, I think. And of course, Figure 4 helps her do that. So, but back to the thing about whether she's off the rails. to me, I would say off the rails is almost like being crazy, or if you want to think of it as that. I don't think she was ever crazy.
Yeah.
I do think that she had been manipulated to the point to where it wasn't mentally healthy for her. Now, it was helpful in one regard in that she could survive out in the Badlands, with that kind of not just her training, but what kind of how she was operating with Teferis or Zalem. But eventually, that wasn't healthy for her as a human, though. I mean, maybe as a cyborg, you could say, well, it made her more effective or more efficient. But
I would actually argue that was exactly what Teferis was looking for. They wanted to have her plunged into a situation where she started losing in touch with her humanity, because that brought out more of the combat machine, the trained killer.
Yes.
And that's what they wanted for their AR program.
Yep. Which is why they came up with those 11 other ARs, Alita replicants. Now those were androids, I think.
Yes, they were fully machine.
Yeah, they were.
But they had the imprint of a human brain in the chips.
Yeah, that's right. So, of course, Zex turned out he was. I guess he didn't like being a female, I guess. So he wanted to be a male, I guess, because you remember when he ripped Figure 4's arm off, he was still a female, wasn't he? If I remember. Yeah. He
was still a she.
Yeah. So, but eventually, he becomes Zex.
Yeah.
And of course, Kran and I Rotten really like Zex. So to me, I think sometimes he's off the rails.
Yeah, especially when he was like first starting out, and he was still a she. She was tracking down the other, basically her sisters, and murdering them.
Yeah.
That was kind of dark.
Yeah. Of course, they were her or his or whatever sisters as well. He was tracking them down and killing them. Yeah,
that's what I mean. They were Zek's sisters, and Zex was just tracking them down to kill them to, I guess, in some twisted sense, trying to find her place in the world.
Yeah.
And later, his place in the world, something like that.
Well, there was that one panel where he killed one of them.
AR4, I think it was.
Yeah, it was AR4. That's right. And I guess Figure 4 actually thought it was Alita,
And he tried to protect her.
Yeah, that's right.
And AR4 is just wanting to, just survive and live a life. And then Zex comes in and just slaughters her.
Yeah. And he rams a sword in her mouth, doesn't he, or something like that.
Oh, I think he splits her head in half down to the mouth.
Yeah, that's right.
After cutting her hands off.
Yeah, and I think Figure 4 he kind of goes all.
Yeah, he went berserk, and I think only realized after the fact that it was AR4. It was an android and not actually Alita. I think
that's right. Yeah,
can't remember exactly how that went, but
yeah.
Well, kudos to Kishiro, because especially in nowadays as well, and considering that how old the story of Alita actually is, and I have to say this, the work side of it doesn't even come anywhere near it. Kishiro wrote such a compelling character, in the way that he did with Zex, that you don't even think about it. It's I'm taken aback at what Zex is doing, how he's reacting to the world, and the decisions that he's making, and the fact that he still somehow turns into a character that eventually tolerates Alita long enough to team up with her in the Zot tournament. Mind you, that's a considerable amount of time as well. Still wanting to fight Alita, but perhaps not kill her as much as prove his superiority. superiority
he's the
at
better
that
of them.
stage.
Well, I would tell you though, when he was in that Fitzroy body and she was in that Imaginos body, that fight would not have gone well for him.
No.
It would that would have been a disaster. She would have killed him. I think if it would have come to that, because that Imaginos body, much more powerful than that Fitzroy body. Because I think Zeka was in another Fitzroy body, and they were basically fighting at a stalemate. Zeka almost kills Zex, but Zex, I guess comes back. Remember, he was sinking down to the bottom of this lake or something like that, and he decided, no, I'm not going to die, and he goes up, and resumes the fight with Zeka. But I think Alita, I think she wouldn't have been in that position in that Fitzroy, but I mean in that Imaginos body, particularly that Imaginos 2.1 body.
Yep.
That fight would have lasted all of maybe 10 seconds, and it would have been over, So she would have dispatched him, kind of like she dispatched Grishka, whenever she was in the Berserker body, and Grishka was just a big old hulking, whatever he was,
And Vector's office.
Yeah, that's right. So,
yeah, I think of the Imaginos body, she was much faster and much stronger than the Fitzroy bodies.
Oh yeah, for sure. Plus, now of course, I think Maxie's pointed this out too. It's not canon, but there was that one story. Okay, Angelus wants to share his screen. There was that one side story where she was running at relativistic speed. So the Fitzroy body couldn't do that. So it would have been over fast. I said 10 seconds. It might have been over in like milliseconds.
I googled it up, and Hyderabad is like a city in India somewhere.
Yeah.
Is the fourth most populous city in India with a population of 6.9 mil. And there's someone that I can't tell if it's carved or if it's just drawn on there with like pen or paint.
Wow.
But that's, I guess it'd have to be paint, because you can obviously tell that it's whatever was on top of it has started to fade off or peel off or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And think about how many people see that.
I think Indy's like the third or the fourth highest in the what they pulled for the box office as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. Anyway, I just thought
that is pretty good.
It's going in the news for tomorrow.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah. So you hear that? Disney people all over the world want this sequel. Damn it! You've got to give it a sequel. Think of all the. For 4 years now, we've been with the Alita Army. The Creek has only been in the Alita Army 3 years, but we've kept her alive, and more and more people not kept her alive. We've kept her current. That's a better term, I guess. We've kept her current. More and more people have become aware of her. And I tell you, if James Cameron takes a little bit more active role, not to direct Alita, I think he needs to let Rob Rod go ahead and direct, but certainly he could take a little bit more of an active role and convince Disney, hey, I'm going to take an active role in this, and Rodriguez and I and Landau, we'll make you money on the sequel,
Yep.
And God, their reticence to greenlight it, at least to this point, is not, to me, it's just mind blowing, mind baffling. I guess an opportunity to make money and you don't take it. I don't get it, but that's me,
I have a feeling that it's a little bit of everything, but the main draw or the main, what's that word, when someone makes a correlation between things, like there would have been some Alita Army member out there that I remember watching this movie. Have you ever seen it and start talking about it with the
Yeah.
friends that would have been passing by, and they say no. Like this is like a, they'd be amazed by the actual drawing itself, the fact that it's art on a wall or something like that. Hell, they might have just come across some random nutcase on Twitter that can't stop talking about it, aka Alita Army,
Yeah.
and think, wait, I remember this being talked about on online, sort of thing, and like that'd be the breadcrumb that uh, the seed that's planted, and then they go discover more, figure out more. Maybe go look up the source material if they've already seen the movie, or maybe go see the movie because it's like I said, the seed's been planted now, and then it's just gonna blossom sooner or later,
Well, it's fun.
and
Oh, go ahead.
then multiply that by millions around the world, incidents like it.
Yeah, because I know when I first saw Alita, I didn't know who the Alita Battle Angel. I didn't know who the Alita Army was. And to your point about some nutcase on Twitter, that was me. You know, I mean, I wasn't a nut. Well, I am a nutcase in some cases, but you know, I saw Alita and I saw it 2 times. You know, in 3 days, I saw it twice because I really loved it. You know, and I came back. You know, and I'm on Twitter and I see these posts. You know, who in the hell is this Alita Army? You know, so I started just, you know, kind of seeing what the tweets were and retweeting and getting into that, you know. And, you know, that to your point, Angelus, people on Twitter, you know, we've seen tweets where the individual says, you know, I just saw Alita Battle Angel for the first time. This would be like 2 or 3 years after the movie, you know. Why didn't somebody tell me about this? You know, why didn't somebody tell me this was such a great movie? How many times have we seen that? You know, a bunch. So I think, you know, that, you know, Disney would be well advised, you know, to consider that, you know, and go ahead and greenlight this because, I mean, to me, a lot of stuff they've been doing recently has not been profitable.
Mm-hmm.
And their stock price is still way down, you know. I mean, you know, if it seems to me, if now I don't know how it's doing after Avatar, it may have come up since then. I'm not sure, you know, but the idea that you got a really great IP like this, you know, that's got more than enough source material for you to come up with stories, you know, with a character that people seem to love, you know, why would you not go for it, you know? And I guess maybe it's my ignorance here because I'm not a movie maker or anything like that, but it seems to me that, you know, hey, we can make money. That should be the factor, I think. Anyway, I'm gonna shut up now and let y'all talk.
Before we try to get the train back on track, again, to that point, I think, or rather, I feel that cinema is healing in that case because, like, you look at all the releases since Maverick, since Avatar, and they like, you know, nowhere near billion-dollar franchises, but they've been pulling big numbers in comparison to other comic book movies. And like a prime example of that is like even the recent Mario movie now has made like a pretty hefty like box office taking just on its opening weekend alone. I think last tweet I remember seeing is it made more than Shazam did in 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Was the one before that. And I watched it myself as well. But like just like non comic book movies, non sort of blockbusters, it's just there to do exactly what it's meant to do, entertain. And you know, people are coming out to see that kind of movie, not rehashed, rebooted, whatever, you know.
Well, I think the comic book movies, and I, you know, I've liked them all, you know, but I think at this point, people I think are starting to kind of, they're. I mean, certainly I like Marvel and DC movies, but to me, it's like the same thing. It's. Of course, there is a difference between the MCU and the DCU for sure. But it's another comic book movie. And I think people sometimes think about that as hey, this is a superhero movie. Superman, Man of Steel, superhero movie. Shazam, superhero movie. That Wonder Woman, Captain Marvel, they're superhero movies. This Alita is not a superhero movie.
Nope.
Nor was Avatar 2. It wasn't a superhero movie. So I mean, the characters are relatable, and it's not a superhero movie, so it's a little bit different. So it seems to me that when people start getting a little bit worn on, like Angela says, superhero comic book movies, what's the alternative? And there you have it. There's a couple of alternatives there. Top Gun Mavericks was another one. So I don't know. I think they're missing an opportunity. If they don't greenlight this, they're missing an opportunity, I think.
Yep.
Especially since they've been having some trouble there, and the senior leadership at Disney has been having some problems, I think.
I think I would put the word leadership in quotes myself, but that's just
when I say that, I mean like C-level management. But I mean, here's your alternative, guys.
Yep.
So I don't know. So, and who knows? Maybe they're already talking about, maybe we should. They may be saying that, they're not letting it out.
Yeah, maybe.
I think Cameron and Rodriguez doing that blood oath, that was a really big lift right there. So.
But as far as Alita being off the rails in the Badlands, I would say yes, but not as far as her being, completely mentally insane. Just, I've seen enough of what the effects can be to somebody in a combat situation for an extended period of time if they're left in the battlefield for too long.
Yeah.
It doesn't, the human mind just does not react well to that typically.
Yes.
It takes a special kind of person to be able to hold themselves together under those situations.
Yeah, I think so.
And she was able to hold herself together, but it did cost her her humanity in order to do so.
Yes.
Until, of course, she meets both Chaos and then more significantly later, Figure 4.
Yeah, she definitely finds herself with Figure 4.
Mm-hmm.
For me, when I think of off the rails, I'm thinking something like psychosis, being a psychotic or a sociopath or something like that.
Well, I've seen people in really tough situations go off the rails, and it's usually a temporary condition. They end up losing themselves in some fashion, or it just the pressure ends up causing them to fracture in some fashion.
Yeah.
They end up going off the rails, but it typically will not last for too long.
Well, I know
sometimes
Alita,
it's a very short period of time.
Yeah, I know when Alita took out those barjack soldiers, she was pretty close to being off the rails, I think, there. I mean, or not off the rails, but kind of extremely violent,
Yeah. Well, when she's looking to basically lose herself in the bloodlust like that, I would call that a bit off the rails.
Yeah, she probably has moments like that. It's like I always said about her. She has her moments. You kind of saw that a little bit at the end of the movie, didn't you? When she, there's Vector there. Now granted, he's being possessed or controlled by Nova, but he's unarmed, and she just runs him through.
Yeah. Well, also you got to consider she just looked at the remains of Shirin.
Yeah, that's
the
right.
woman who I think she was probably going to be going back to Ito, and she also just helped Alita save Hugo.
Yeah.
And he basically chopped her up into parts and put her in jars.
Yeah.
So unarmed or not.
That's going to do something to you mentally, especially.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would have let Vector live after that either.
Yeah, that would have been a tough call.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, when I say tough call, maybe
you
not.
also got to consider too. There's no police force you can talk to that's going to arrest him. He's not going to face any kind of jury or court. So what are you going to do with him?
Yeah, and of course she's not going to face a jury or court. You know, because remember, Nova did say, "I'm going to let you walk out of here this time."
Mm-hmm.
You know, so yeah, she kills somebody, takes down a dozen Centurions, and then just walks out of the factory like nothing happened almost. You know.
Yeah, I mean, since there's nobody else to stop Vector, her killing him basically puts a stop to his organization for the most part.
Yeah.
Now, sure, an underling could come up and take over, but nothing else is going to stop Vector at that point except her.
You said take over, because that's exactly what Nova's going to do again to some other, quote unquote puppet.
Well, in Maxi's story, he's got that Duchess who is basically coming up to sort of take over in the wake of the vacuum left by Vector's exit.
Yeah, Vector's successor.
Which, to be honest, I think is actually something I'm going to do with my own story too. I'm going to have. I liked the way Maxi portrayed the Duchess there, so I'm probably going to have her start sort of doing the same thing in my story as well. She becomes the new sort of crime lord, as it were.
Yeah. Well, I think, as far as Alita being off the rails, I think she's not off the rails most of the time, but she does go off the rails, particularly when she gets in those situations like you were talking about, Lee, where she's kind of once again, this is not a 0 or 1 type situation, good or evil. It's just kind of what she's having to go through and how she deals with it.
I think in the Badlands, she is rather off the rails there. She's lost touch with her humanity. She's plunged herself into her bloodlust and fallen back on that to simply survive, and that's all there is to it. There's nothing else in life except just simply surviving from one fight to the next.
Yeah.
And that leads people to becoming something that no sane person should really want around their loved ones. That's just not a good place to be in. It doesn't matter if it's Alita or anybody else. That's
right. Well, I
add stuff to people.
Yeah, I will say this about her though. There was that one story where she shot that Deckman, that escaped, and she did wait for that Deckman, for those kids to leave the Deckman. So
I think that kind of speaks to the fact that there is still the spark of humanity in her. It never leaves.
Yeah, that's right.
And she has that soft spot for kids.
Yeah, so she's not totally off the rails, but she's only got one wheel on the rails and the rest of her off. So, I just think she's not psychotic or not a sociopath.
I think you don't have to be psychotic to be going off the rails. You just have to be in a bad enough place that your psyche is not reacting well to, or you're not reacting in a way that is most people who are in a well-adjusted situation would find sane.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, there's plenty of stories from combat troops who have done some things that they look back on it and they said themselves, it's like, if I weren't in that situation, there's no way I would have done some of the things that I did.
Yeah.
Because they ended up, sometimes to survive, they ended up basically having to willingly give up the parts of themselves that they considered human, because they weren't going to get through it intact any other way.
Yeah, that's right. What's the old thing? Kill or be killed, I guess, is
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, what do you think, Angelus? Is Alita off the rails in the Badlands?
In the very detached context, yes. And because I remember you mentioned, or maybe it was Lee that mentioned it. Someone mentioned that it was a figure 4 that restored that connection, or like what's that word? Cultivated that or recultivated that connection with humanity.
Yes.
That's what implied. That's what got me thinking that like how far detached she was from her original, if you want to call it that, original
Or
humanity.
humanity, yeah.
Well, we seem to have consensus then because I think she's off the rails most of the time. I don't think she's off the rails all the time. And the reason why I say that is there were certain periods of time when she's interacting, like when she first meets Figure Four on the train, the nuclear or the atomic train.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, you know, she's almost well, she certainly was attractive enough to for Figure Four.
Yeah,
To,
she wasn't acting in a berserk fashion or something like that. She was just sitting up there playing a harmonica.
yeah, and that to me, you know, maybe she wasn't quite off the rails there. Now she's definitely off the rails when she's fighting because she's having to survive, and
Mm-hmm.
she's off dealing with other situations. Uh, and here's another thing, she had that one opportunity to shoot Den. You remember that? And
Yeah.
Koyomi got in the way,
Mm-hmm.
and I think if she'd have been at that particular time, because she wasn't off the rails there, because she might have said, "Well, hell with you. It's more important to me to kill Den, even if I lose you, Koyomi. Because I know you." That would have been, if she would have shot Koyomi and then shot Den, then that would have been off the rails, I think.
Yeah.
But the fact that she says, I'm not going to shoot you this time, but next time we meet, I won't hesitate to shoot.
Yeah.
So I think at that point, I think she's not off the rails. So, but I do think she's off the rails most of the time. I think she definitely is, because she's not in touch with her humanity, so she's off the rails. But there are those instances, where she kind of has that little flick.
Well, that's the thing. Being off the rails, as it were, it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody in a bad situation like she was in. They're not going to be, berserk and bloodlust foaming at the mouth all the time.
All the time, yeah, that's right. Now she was one of those folks, though. You wouldn't want to piss her off in the Badlands.
Nope.
No, that would
probably wouldn't want to cross her path in the Badlands for that matter.
Yeah, depending on situation, I guess. I guess so. Of course, old Figure Four, he certainly didn't hesitate to hit on her, did he?
Nope.
Even though Yog told him, "Hey, that's the angel of death right there. You're taking your life in your hands. If you mess around with her."
Angel of death, eh? Well, she's certainly an angel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was focusing too much on the wrong word in the angel of death part.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and he was. The uwu got him, I guess.
Yep.
Isn't that right, Angelus? Probably that's what happened to him. The uwu got him. So anyway, I think we all think she was off the rails pretty much in the Badlands.
At the very least, she was not in a good place.
Yeah, until she meets Figure Four.
Well, even then, it took her a while to warm up to him. It took him a bit for him to start drawing her humanity out again.
Oh, they were contentious for a while too, weren't they?
Yeah.
It wasn't like they were buddies or.
No, it took him up. They worked together for a bit, and it took a while for her to actually start warming up to him.
Yeah. Well, just seeing how he acted, and his kind of what his behavior was, and him as his character, I think that kind of started speaking to her.
Yeah, he wasn't one to back down. He was willing to stand by her and to be there for her.
Well, not only that, I think she also probably recognized that he had a good heart. So.
I mean, even after Yog betrayed them and then tried to make it up to him, he basically forgave Yog.
Yeah. Yeah, that probably made an impression on her. Wow, you're going to forgive somebody that betrayed you. Yeah. Because maybe because I think Yog was figure four's friend. So, you know, probably that friendship was pretty deep, you know, and she probably recognized that too, that, you know, he had that kind of inner makeup, you know, where he could have a really deep, you know, relationship with somebody, you know, in which they would, you know, would forgive somebody for doing wrong or whatever. And she probably saw that as well. Okay, guys, I think we hit that pretty hard, I guess, except when the Creek got off the rails himself a little bit, started talking about Disney and that sequel, you know.
Yep.
So anyway, I think we've figured out that
that picture on the left there.
Yes.
Definitely off the rails.
That's off the rails. Yeah.
Yeah, she's got a pretty evil look on her face there, I think.
Well, even the one on the right.
A little bit less so, I think.
Yeah,
but the
maybe
one on
the,
the left.
But if you're going to marry,
a very predatory look.
Yeah, if he was going to marry somebody and they're pointing a gun at you like they say, oh, "Okay, I think maybe we're not going to get married." I don't care what the ooh.
No.
I guess I don't care what the ooh factor is. I want to survive, you know. So okay, so I guess we're going to have a pretty short stream tonight, but that's okay. Any last thoughts, you guys, about this? Any last thoughts about Alita and the Badlands? Is there some character that maybe we missed? I guess that gets us to this point right here, I guess.
Well, only that I'm looking forward to hearing what you think about Chapter 9.
Yeah, I'm gonna read it. I'll probably get to it tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm gonna
Chapter 9, File 10. Is that how it works?
Well,
yeah, I think
like that. Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. You know, I was on File 9, Chapter 8. So, you know, and I finished Chapter 8. So, because I always want to make sure I leave you a note. And like, you know, Lee, I apologize too, because I'm not much of a critic, you know, when it comes to, you know, reading a story and then giving you the intricacies of what I think the characters. I'm not very good at that, you know.
Well, at the very least, you gave me a little bit of feedback when I asked you about that one comment that one guy left on AO3 about Jason being annoying and childish.
No, he's not annoying and childish.
And I kind of, you know, asked you about this, like, well, does he strike you as that?
No, he just strikes me as a guy that has mental issues.
Which is
what
I was going for, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, you know.
He's a guy who's got some mental issues, yeah.
Because I'll be reading that, you know, and this situation will come up in the story, and I'll think, oh gosh, is that going to set Jason off? And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't, you know. Yeah.
Well, Jason, I kind of also I tried to put in some of the my own experiences with it. As I've gotten older, I've recognized more and more where my own weak points are. So I tried to do that a bit with Jason as well. So he's well aware that he's got some mental issues, and he tries to.
Well, he's dealing with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I found it interesting that for a while there, he couldn't be in the same room with Alita. It just.
Well, I tried to make that just a very short-lived thing where basically after he had that meltdown, when it looked like when she grabbed his arm and his mind hallucinated that vision of her clamping down so hard that his flesh was like squeezing through her fingers.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was going to be leave a bit of a mark, but he sort of recovers from that fairly quickly.
Well, he is able to sit in the same room with her and talk to her. And she's actually, for the most part, she's actually kind of nice to him. You know,
that's what helps. He starts to realize, she's nothing like what he had been expecting. She's not, you know, violent or bloodthirsty or a bully or anything like that. Like he's expecting somebody, because, well, you look at the environment of Iron City, people who have a lot of power tend to use it to push other people around.
Yeah.
And she is quite the opposite of that.
Yeah. Yeah. She's kind of an enigma like that, isn't it? I mean, she kind of goes counter to what the expectation.
Well, he does recognize that she's got some compassion to her, which helps him get over a lot of his fears of her, because she has a very human side that he recognizes in her. Because that's one of the things about Jason I tried to portray him as. He's a very empathetic individual. So when she shows a lot of compassion, his empathy picks up on that.
Yeah, I like that one when she does grab his arm like that, and he has the meltdown, and finally Ito asks him, do you have a
in the
problem
next
with-
chapter after he brings him out of the being
Yeah.
sent,
you have problems with cyborgs? And he's kind of non-committal, but he says no or something. Then he said, do you think you can sit in the same room with Alita, because we're going to have to eat dinner?
Yeah.
So
And since you have to stay here because you're impatient,
yeah,
you have no legs, you've got one arm, I'm going to have to be taking
you're
care
going
of
to have
you.
yeah, you're going to have to well, basically you're going to have to get past this, whatever it is you have going on
Yeah.
with Alita.
Well, Ito's up front with him. He tells him, it's like, we're
Yeah.
not equipped to really handle somebody with severe mental issues. So
Yeah.
if you start having some severe problems, I'm not sure what we're going to be able to do.
Yeah.
Which kind of also gives Jason a bit more impetus to try to, clamp down it, which isn't necessarily the healthiest way of dealing with it, but it is fairly realistic. And sometimes you've got no other options.
Yeah. And they certainly didn't have any mental health hospitals there in Diamond.
Oh, hell no. That was one of the things Jason did not want to find out, is what happens to people with mental health issues in that city.
Yeah.
Scared the hell out of him to figure out, what might happen to him at that point.
Yeah. So, Angelus, you got any last words of wisdom there?
No, I'm too much taken in by the uwu.
Yeah, I tell you what,
It's a trap
Angelus,
I commonly fall into, like
Yeah.
super commonly.
well, if you'd have been on that atomic train with Alita, you'd have done exactly what Figure 4 did. Yeah, that's for sure.
Amen.
Yeah, the uwu would get you. The uwu would probably get me too. Even though I've been through that kind of stuff so many times.
Yeah.
But anyway, the uwu would definitely get you. All three of those images right there are uwu. That's for sure. Lee, any last thoughts?
I hope Disney can get over their serious case of cranial rectal inversion sometime soon, so we can get that sequel
Yeah,
right now.
yeah, that's right. I have a feeling it's coming pretty soon.
It better be.
I have a feeling it's, we're going to get that announcement this year. That's what I think.
Who was it? This one YouTuber said, he was joking when he said it, but he's like, it's like, just before a friend of mine once told me, right before he firebombed his neighbor's house, you can always do more.
Yeah.
So
Well,
do what we can to get the sequel going.
yep, and that's what the Creek intends to keep doing. And by the way, when we do get that green light announcement, I'm not stopping.
Mm-hmm.
Then the objective is going to be, okay, after
Yeah, so it's going to be kind of like, okay, so we got number 2 now 3,
now let's get
let's-
3 and then get a series and stuff
and
like
let's
that.
get the 4th one out.
Yeah.
Okay, now you got the 4th one. Let's do the 5th one. Come on, guys, don't slow down now. Number 6, waiting on that.
Yep. And you can see from that center image right there that my niece Alita really loves her Uncle Creek. So so she probably wouldn't use that plasma weapon on me unless I really pissed her off. So
Well, even that, I don't think she. If you're, family, friends, somebody she cares about,
yeah, she's
I
not
don't think she's going to use the plasma weapon.
Yeah,
She might smack you upside the head or something.
yeah,
like
she
that.
might hit. Yeah,
Don't
she
be
might.
stupid.
Yeah, she's going to punch you, just not hard enough to really hurt you, but to get your
Mhm.
attention.
Yep.
Although I'd like to think she'd never punch her Uncle Creek. That's for sure.
Well, even with Ito, I mean, when he pissed her off, all she did was smash the table.
Yeah, that's
She never
right.
laid a hand on him.
Yeah, she smashed the table, and one other time when he refused to let her, be a partner as a hunter warrior, and she just runs off.
Oh hell, when Esdoc backhanded her or smacked her, she still didn't raise a hand to him.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
I think she's pretty good about not using her enormous strength to splatter people that she cares about, unless they do some kind of seriously bad betrayal.
Yeah, that's right. Unless you're in the Badlands.
Unless you're in the Badlands, in which
Yeah,
case she might just shoot you.
Yeah, I'm tired of this boom.
Mhm.
Yeah, you know. So anyway, but anyway, like I say, she loves her Uncle Creek because Uncle
Yep.
Creek's going to be fighting for her sequel. So, and of
Yeah,
course,
the rest of her army.
Mhm.
that's right. The army is fighting for this sequel. You know,
Yep.
and then there's our queen right there, Rosa. I tell you, man, Rosa is great. I mean, you know, I can't say too much about her acting ability and stuff like that. I mean, she is phenomenal in Undone. She was great
Mhm.
in that. You know, I saw both seasons of that, and it was great. I
I
have,
still haven't been able to see the second season that I want to because I finished up the first one.
yeah.
Haven't been able to get around to seeing the second one
The
yet.
second one, I'm not going to spoil, but the second one is a little bit different. You know, I mean, in
Hmm.
terms of the first one, you're kind of wondering, okay, is she mentally ill or is what's going on or whatever,
Mhm.
the second season answers that question.
Oh, okay. Well, I
So
don't
yeah,
want to know the answer yet until I
no,
see
no,
it
no, no,
myself.
I'm not going to tell you the answer, but God, she was great in both of those,
Mm.
just
I
super
came
duper great.
to an epiphany a couple days ago, even.
Mm.
I forget the context and sorry, hang on 1 second. I forget the context and how it came about, but I asked the question: did any of us know who Rosa was prior to 2019?
Mhm.
And like basically speaking about how actors or how we might not know certain actors until something like a certain movie of theirs or a certain work of theirs
Yeah,
like pops up and makes that impact on us, and then all of a sudden it's like, wow, it put them on the map for us. And for a lot of us, like it was a leader that put Rosa
Mm.
on the map for all of us. And
Seems like it, yeah. I mean, I had only been vaguely aware of her. I didn't really know specifically who she was
yeah,
until Alita Battle Angel.
yeah,
Then suddenly I'm like looking back at all the other instances I'd seen her in movies, like, oh, that's who she is.
yeah. That's the reaction I had. But to
How the
Angelus,
hell did I miss her?
well, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
But to Angelus's point, he says before 2019, hell, I didn't know who the hell she was before 2020.
Mm.
When I saw her in Alita Battle Angel in a hotel room,
Mm.
on the TV, because I couldn't, I didn't want to go out. I said, well, I'll just give this a shot,
Yeah.
and I saw the credits and I said, who in the hell is Rosa Salazar? Because she is great. And
Mhm.
I tell you how much I didn't know who she was. When I saw, the movie Alita, I saw the character Alita.
Mhm.
I thought Rosa Salazar was almost like a child actor. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought, okay, they CGI'd her eyes, okay,
Mhm.
but okay, this is what she looks like. And then, of course, then eventually I figure out, and then at that point, I didn't even know her hair was CGI'd, that
Yep.
kind of thing.
Yeah, I thought this hair was real too. I figured, they CGI your face, CGI the clothes, all that stuff, but they CGI everything. So it was basically just one big CGI costume she was wearing.
Well, see, I didn't even think that. I thought that was her face. I
Yeah.
mean, seriously, I didn't even think
Yeah,
about
that's
it.
what I was thinking. I thought, that the only thing that was real was at least the hair because it seemed so
Yeah,
realistic.
yeah,
So the face,
exactly.
everything else. But then I found out even the hair had been CGI'd.
Well, you can see like in this image right here that Rosa, you could see the kind of resemblance with Alita. I
Yeah.
mean, it might
Well, they
look more
used
like
all of the imperfections, everything in her skin. So
yeah,
many of the features that Alita has in the movie are Rosa Salazar's features.
yeah. Well, it's kind of like they're sisters. Like Rosa would
Hmm.
be her sister or something.
Yeah.
I guess is what it's kind of like. Maybe.
Well, Rosa being in her 30s, Alita could almost be her daughter, being she's
Yeah,
like 18.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, not quite, maybe. Well, depends. Yeah, well, I guess so. Yeah, she'd be about 20, wouldn't she?
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So, wow. Yeah, but yeah, I had no clue who Rosa Salazar was, but I was
Yeah.
like you, Lee. I saw Rosa Salazar and I looked it up, on IMDb, and then of course that's when I discovered what she looked like. But then I saw some of the other stuff she was in, like Divergent, and I went back to
And Maze Runner and all that. Yeah.
Maze Runner. I've never seen Maze Runner, but I have seen clips of it. And I said, "Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I know," because I did see Divergent. I saw all of that, and I said, "Okay, she's a soldier," and I certainly recognized her in the movie, that movie.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, Rose is number one in Creek's book in terms of being an actor, or actress, whichever one you want to call it, Maxie. So, she is great. I mean, I think she is very underrated. I think, I think big future for her. I think she's going to go places, and of course, as I say every week, it sure don't hurt that she's pretty, She definitely is, Also, I want to kind of do that shout out I like to do to
definitely.
Jesse Fisher, because those two ladies right there brought Screwhead to life, and man, I'm telling you,
hopefully they'll get the chance to do it again in the sequel.
Absolutely, and certainly it don't hurt that they're pretty either. but those two, man, made Screwhead, I mean, believable. I mean, they were.
Yep.
I mean, God, that's some great work there. And I've seen Elle in Salvage Marines, and I even watched some clips on the reboot, I guess, of what was that movie about the vampires? Now I can't remember now. Gosh,
there's so many vampire movies. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I can't remember. There's one that was in the '90s, I guess, and then they rebooted it recently. I can't remember the name of it now. She was in that.
Is it?
No, it was. See, when we get off the stream, I'll remember it the second we get off the stream.
Yeah.
No,
how that works out.
From Dusk Till Dawn.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, she played a vampire in the reboot, I guess. Was it a reboot or a sequel? I don't
remember there being a reboot to it. It might have been a sequel.
It might have been a sequel, yeah, but she played a vampire in that one. So, so anyway, she did good on that. So yeah, those two ladies are great. They need to revive Screwhead when they give us a sequel, and we talked about that on that one stream. Sequel on the sequel rather, that Screwhead and Alita, kind of make up, and they're
or at least team up a little bit.
Yeah, that's right. So that'd be cool, I think, if they did that.
Yeah. Wouldn't mind seeing McTeague again too.
Oh yeah. Oh man, I think the world of Jeff Fahey, man. That guy. That guy there, he played in. I remember the first movie I ever saw him was in Silverado, and that was back in the '80s. He played this outlaw named Tyree, and man, he was great. He was menacing, boy, and really played the part very well, And I've seen him in other stuff too, since then. He does a good job, So yeah, I want to see McTeague come back too, And certainly we want to see Ed Skrein come back as Zapan. Of course, if they do the Zapan arc, if they try to add it to the Motorball arc or the Alita competing against Josh again, they'll have to make the movie 3 hours. Yeah. They're not going to be able to get that in 2 hours.
I think maybe having him sort of get hinted at towards the end of the second movie and then move to the third movie for the Zapan arc.
Yes. Kind of like, Alita and Joshigan are, competing and all that. And at the end, after the competition's over and all that, Zapan's, watching the big screen or whatever. He's in the soup kitchen or wherever he is with Sarah, and all of a sudden he sees Alita and his eyes get big, and then they could cut away, I think that'd be perfect if they did that, so.
Yeah.
Because I've seen Ed Skrein and stuff too. He was in that movie Midway. He was really good in that movie. He got that Brooklyn accent down perfect. So, yeah, he's real good, I think he was in a movie too he was a Transporter movie, I think. Is I think.
Correct. Transporter 4, or as it's being a Transporter refueled.
Yeah, that's right. So he was in that. So I haven't seen that one though, but okay. But anyway, there's our I'm not going to call them girls. They're not girls. They are ladies. They are great actors, you know. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sorry if that embarrass them. You know, because I think all three of them are just super. You know,
Yep.
they're all three my celebrity crushes. That's what they are.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope I don't embarrass them too much for that. So anyway, but I want them all back in that sequel. That's for sure.
Yep.
Okay, I guess we talk about this one here, Angelus. What's the scoop here? What's is Maxie going to be the host, or are you going to be the host?
I'm definitely going to be there this time. And I'll definitely be the co-host, and who knows, I might actually be the host about this one as well. And when I first saw the topic, I thought it like really sort of followed on really quite nicely from this one, even because
Yeah,
now like just sort of got the engine upstairs, aka in between my ears,
yeah,
like kicking over now. So
yeah. Well, that's one reason I picked this topic because I wanted to kind of, you know, on a limited scale, you know, go right into that topic because you know this is a bigger picture right here. Is Alita a good person or a bad person? You know, that's a bigger picture than just did she go off the rails or is she off the rails in the Badlands? You know, because you can factor that into this too, and then
mm,
also factor in her in Iron City, her in the Last Order, her in Mars Chronicles, you know, stuff like that and just kind of meld that all together and make your decision. But here we pretty much wanted to focus on just the Badlands, you know. So,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, we weren't trying to decide whether Alita is good or bad. Just was she off the rails? Because even as off the rails, if you want to think of it, you know, I think she's still good because she still has that flicker of humanity. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's just that she's right on the edge, I guess.
Yeah.
You know. So anyway, but anyway, join us on Radio Chaos tomorrow. There's Chaos Nova. How's it going, Chaos Nova?
Pretty well.
Cool. Well, you're joining us right at the end. Any words of wisdom for us? Because I noticed you were in the chat and had some pretty good feedback for Alita in the Badlands.
No, just putting out content, and like I said, the part where we're kind of weak is longer form video content. So
Yeah, yeah,
that's
that's
the
right.
point where we don't have a lot. So a little bit more of that would help get the audience hours on YouTube up.
Okay. You got anything big coming up on your channel there, Chaos?
Second part of Gonna March Remember in English is coming. So
Nice. So you're playing that game in English now.
now I am, yes.
I got to go check that out.
Also adding short clips from the game in English as well, because there aren't really many of those on YouTube that are in English.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they're all Japanese. So okay. So anyway, I guess we've kind of wore out the topic, and kind of a very narrow topic, I guess. But I wanted to kind of make it kind of meld into the topic.
I'm just going to warn you about the game in English. It might shock you that Alita's different in how she is with people. So just don't be shocked or angry when you see the later twists of the game.
No, I'll be cool with it, Chaos.
I'm just warning you that she almost forgets about Figure 4. So don't be scared or shocked about that.
Oh, okay. Well, that's gonna okay. I'll be okay. But I'm still gonna watch it though, so that's for sure. You know. Okay.
Well, hopefully a new update comes that's more of the game in English. But this one goes out to the Badlands so far.
Nice.
So.
Nice. Okay. Well, that I definitely want to see that then. Most definitely. Okay, so I guess tomorrow join us on Radio Chaos where we talk about whether Alita is a good person or a bad person. We'll see you there tomorrow. And of course, next Friday we do not have, or Saturday if you're in the future, like Angelus is. We don't have a topic for next Alita live stream, but we will definitely be back on next weekend, and the Creek will be back in Colorado. So you know, I don't know what difference that makes, except I won't be on my laptop. I'll be on my tower. So anyway.
Okay.
Cool. So anyway, that said, I guess as we say every week, why is this image here? Well, that image is there because I like it and I'm running the stream. And of course, Angelus would also tell you there's plenty of woo-woo even in this particular image. And to paraphrase Gawishka, I am only here for our girl and the Alita Army. And of course, all of us in the Alita Army are only here for our girl. So
Yep.
there you have it. All right, folks. So I guess that kind of brings us up to the end, I guess, of where we do our call to action. And that would be on my count of 3. And that's going to be 1, 2, 3.
Film
Film
those
those
sequels,
sequels,
baby.
baby.
All
Yeah.
right. Yeah, we got it right that time. So, okay. Well, so we'll see you next week and see you tomorrow on Radio Chaos.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
What's up, Alita Army? This is Hot Toys Alita, and I hope you enjoyed this week's Alita Livestream. Please join my Uncle Creek, Angelus, and our other guests for next week's show. Remember, I do not stand by in the presence of evil, and film those sequels, baby. See you next time.